And we are rolling.
We're rolling. Uh, Trying to control this. I'm sorry, man.
Now you're
So
good.
just, I haven't been in front of the public eye for so long, except for my channel. And 3 people watch that. So this is really exciting. Oh, wait a minute.
Perfect.
All right. So one of them.
Yeah, those will work.
If they turn
So,
out, I want to sell some of them on my website too.
oh,
Okay.
sure.
Thank you. Okay. Let me know.
So,
See
ladies and
how it goes.
gentlemen, let me introduce to you Mr. Rick Serra. He was the co-star of Another Dity Room and several other internet sensations. And I'll let you go ahead and finish off the introduction because I'm sure you know
Wow.
more of what you worked on than I do. But that was the main one, and I've known
They
you
were
forever.
certainly sensational things. I got to contribute to mainly YouTube. Maybe a couple things moved over to a couple other streams, but were social media platforms, maybe Instagram, for example, even Facebook. Although now I understand the videos are being taken off, so they're not going to save them. But if you want your videos, they'll let you arrange to. I don't know how they're going to do that, but bottom line, whatever you saved on Facebook, those cherished videos that we put up over the years. I did lots of live bands over the years on Facebook to try to entertain us poor people who were surviving through the pandemic. And, well, how did I get into all this?
Not sure.
I was a regular guy. I had a family, was raising a grandkid for a couple of years when I had to fill in, my wife and I. And everything's great now. She's actually renting my house with her boyfriend as in her 23 plus year now. And her boyfriend and her are very happy. They both have good jobs. So they're actually watching the house for us, and they have the whole upstairs to themselves. Plus use of the whole house, of course, kitchen, etc.
Well, hey, Rick, why don't we go back? Why don't you tell your story from all the way back as far as you want to go? If you
Okay.
want to go back to when you were born, where you grew up, but I'm going to let you take it from there.
Okay.
And then at some point you'll get to where we cross paths, and then I'm sure
Okay.
we'll have plenty to talk about. But I like for people to hear the story of the people that come on the show. So
Sure.
the stage is yours.
Because a lot of the history is really before you ever saw me on YouTube. Yeah, I'm an old guy. I was born October 1959. I know some of you were trying to use your fingers now to figure out what that does. In terms of years, that's 65 plus, because it was October 7th. So now I'm in my 66th year. So how do I feel in my head? I feel like I'm a kid still. The body isn't agreeing, especially in my back lately. But I don't give up easy. But one thing, I guess, in my life, I always was interested in something, and it was more than one thing at one time. So I had multiple paths going on all the time. Whether it was just doing camping and hiking and outdoors appreciation, or playing softball in an adult softball league, even going to college part-time just for personal enrichment. Used to jog every day, or at least several times a week if I couldn't do it every day. I actually got a cheap way to get an exercise club membership. You just went to the community college and signed up for a 1-credit PE class, and you got use of the facilities included in your activity fee in that 1-credit course instead of paying expensive club fee. So I used to do all that kind of thing. I would run around the campus, and I don't know. That plus the day job. My day job, what was it? It was never some simple little thing like I never sold shoes or anything like that. I'm an environmental health scientist by training. I actually studied a lot of agricultural classwork, and I actually came out of the College of Agriculture, University of Maryland, a turtle, yes. We made it to the Sweet 16 in March Madness, at least, and we were knocked out by who was that? Oh, the national champion. Yeah, so, that's who we played in the Sweet 16, and Florida knocked us out, but they knocked everybody out after us anyway. So, not so bad. You lost to the national champion. But I digress. I like college basketball days, especially when I went there. And I was a student there at the University of Maryland. Lived on campus a couple of years. So I got sort of introduced into raw, original music in forms of different people I crossed paths with at the campus. Started jamming with people. Actually bought an electric guitar. I only ever had a Fender FG 335 acoustic. Got that when I was 16 on my own. And mostly just self-taught my plucking, but music has been one of those rails that I've studied as something that would be my avocation. Even tried playing a couple bands, original music, as well as then I relented and did covers. Oh, yes, I did. I have to admit it. But it was fun. I couldn't believe I actually had fun doing covers. And in this one band I was in, everybody in practice was great, and I was the slacker. I didn't know everything as well as I should. I didn't rehearse enough. But come play the gig, I knew my shit. So when rhythm guitar is keeping the beat for the lead singer, and the lead singer tells you that's what was going on, it's not a bad thing to hear, at least I was keeping the one. Save the one. So I also, as a late love, in 2008, I decided to look into this ghost hunting stuff. I'd always wanted to do something with that. Or UFOs, ever since I was like 10 and I read Chariot of the Gods, and got into all the ancient alien theories. I love those characters, and it's really been funny watching them over the last couple of decades as their faces have aged, especially that one Greek guy with the hair that used to be up on top of his head like he was Carmen Miranda. Do you know what I mean? The
No.
ancient alien people know.
I just know Medusa.
It's on the History Channel. But I'm sure some listeners will know what I'm talking about there. It's just another cable show. Supposedly a documentary, a fake-umentary is what they call it, probably. So I got to do that, and how did I start out? But I went to a meetup group.
Let me add in that right around this time, around 2008, that's where we crossed paths, because I was doing the Blogspot radio show, but it was for my band, the Ray Grady's, and then you guys were doing the Blogspot radio show for the ghost hunting stuff, and then I would call in, and I don't know, I would be drinking, I would call in, and but I think everybody might have been. They would call in to say some crazy
we would all
stuff.
be doing that, but was that when we were doing it by Skype?
That was, I don't know, that it was the actual website called Blogspot Radio.
Yeah, but I think we took telephone calls by Skype through that channel.
It actually, that channel...
we could have several people at a time. It was amazing that you could even do that.
It may have used Skype, but I do know through that Blogspot Radio, you could set up a phone number and people could call in.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. That was what they gave to you guys to be able to reach out to us. I got you for the show.
One guy, I remember one guy called in, and I was like, "Hello, you're on Ray Grady's radio," and he was like, "I just called to see if the number would work." He didn't think it would work.
Do you remember our partner on the West Coast, Sean?
Kind of. I kind of remember that.
He's famous for the psychic episode where we were doing a bunch of calls to psychics, just trying to prank them, and we just hit the mother load with this one particular lady. And this guy, Sean, pretended to be a woman, and you could tell it was a guy being a woman, but she didn't want to hear in the voice that's what was really going on.
Mm-hmm.
And started talking about her crucifix and how she used it and she put it into herself. And it was brutally gross and over the top. And the guy who I did this with, oh, by the way, his name was Dan Bell. We were laughing our asses off so much. We're trying not to, of course, because he's the person I think that was first on the phone. Or was it exclusively Sean? Whatever. It ended up being put together as just a short video on one of that man's channels or his Patreon. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. It's quite delicious. One of the funniest things we ever had happen on that blog spot radio.
But I interrupted. So you were in the middle. You were talking about when you were getting into this.
By going to this meetup. All these people were very unique and kind of nerdy. I kind of expected that, a little bit.
Check out my cool EVP.
Yes. Check it out. That's what they would do. They were showing each other clips or had headphones, and they were like playing different recordings. And I had never done it before. So it was like, I was amazed. Oh, this is so cool. A lady brought a box turtle. And she brought it to this was a library, like maybe from several miles away, where she found it somewhere in her neighborhood. Box turtles have a range of like a very short distance, like maybe a mile diameter range or something. So basically the thing would never survive. She probably got like a 10 or 12-year-old turtle. So here it's even more pathetic, is she's like kissing it. And she's like putting food in her mouth and letting it bite food out of her mouth. And oh my God. And her husband and she both had dental needs that had been neglected for some time, leaving horrible rot in evidence. And you could not help but see this. So I ended up sitting next to this guy, Dan, and slowly we just started to talk to each other because everybody else was just so whacked. And I don't know, maybe we went outside and I bummed the smoke off him or something, because I was famous for that. He smoked. I didn't always smoke. I tried not to. So I mooched him off of him. That might be the whole reason. Everything that happened might have been about the mooching cigarettes.
Now I have a question. What made you get in? What led you to that spot?
All right, so I was like rabidly watching all of the cable shows. I loved the one that was really the most over the top, and I know that it was mostly faked, maybe a 99% faker, was the one from Great Britain. And it was just called Haunted or something.
Yep. I know exactly what
and they'd have a guy who was like a sensitive, and he would channel, and he was this kind of very pale guy, tall, kind of thin. He was always brought in as the, like I said, the visionary, or the, what is the word? I don't have that kind of medium connection kind of a thing. But what I'm good at is I just put equipment in place and turn it on. And maybe I'll use a noise generator, which everybody seems to say, oh, that's so stupid. And then I get results. EVPs are my production mainly. I got a very little video I can show, whether an image or a video that had something visual in it. But I have lots of audio evidence of what the fuck is going on at all these different places. And I was mentioning this to you when we talked the other night. One of my last videos that I put up on Another Odd Place is the name of the playlist on my channel. And it was going to a little chapel. It was related to the family of Harriet Tubman. They founded and built this little chapel. And eventually, after it had been at that location where we found it that day, it had been moved multiple times. And a lot of it had to be reconstructed from photographs and new wood had to be added to complete the structure. But it still symbolically has a lot of the original pews and things like that in this little church. I was riding through the area in August of 2022 with Dan. We were doing a road trip. And we came upon this, and it was just too good to not stop and look in. We were only there 30 minutes tops. So I went and gave it a shot in terms of shooting like for 15 minutes and see if I get lucky with anything. So I shot everything. And when I went through the footage and I listened, and of course that's the most sensitive part, is listening to what you have, and of course looking at the audio, or the video, but I usually have low luck with that. But I had an amazing 16 or 15 distinct different EVPs in a period of 15 minutes. And the one was the most freaky, odd I'd ever found. It was literally 3 different components all simultaneously recorded together. A sinister, evil clown kind of laugh in the background. And then 2 other voices, one saying hi, and the other, I'm going to get you. All at the same time. And when I played it the first time, and I played it 10 times more, I could not be believed, it was beyond a shadow to me. Nobody would have any trouble hearing this. So I put a video out, and unfortunately, a lot of people thought they couldn't hear a thing. People don't always use headphones either, so they don't take the best device they could use to hear things completely. They just wanted to come off their cell phone. So I did another version where I just amped up all of the juice, all the good examples, and just laid them all out, put together a whole other video. So there's a component that comes after. It's the only time I've ever done that. But like I said, I think that 15-minute drop by and shoot, that was some of the most interesting and troubling I'd ever captured of all the electronic voice phenomena that I've come across.
And people can find that on your YouTube channel?
Yes.
If they want to listen to it? So what was the craziest place, now while we're talking about the paranormal stuff?
Sure.
Was that the craziest place you've ever been? Or?
Well, not really, because it was so innocent when I walked through it at the time and walked up the creaky steps to the level where they would have the choir loft.
Mm-hmm.
So I was up there, and there was a window that looked off the loft. And that's where I got this sinister laugh with the other components in that one audio or that one EVP. So odd. Up there, what was that all about? And I've been to many places that had maybe scared the dickens out of me, but I walked away without anything that I could point to that was a concrete example of something why I felt that way. I was in a forest not far from there. It's part of the it's not called Blackwater, Patuxent or Patapsco. Is that what it is? Patapsco. It's all the way in the far reaches of eastern Maryland, and that's near and south of Salisbury. This state park, it's called, and forest. But I think it's Patapsco or Patuxent. I'm getting the name messed up. But we were in the middle of the forest. Nobody's there. We drove around and we hardly encountered anybody back there. It was beautiful, but also eerie. Something flew over top of me and dead. And it was enormous. I mean, you could just get the feeling, the sense that this thing was like, I don't know, the biggest kind of a bird of prey you would find, or a vulture or something like that. And it was flying low and underneath of very heavily boughed trees with lots of branches. So it really wasn't a very open place where you could easily fly around if you could fly. But this thing did. And we were trying to respond to something else, a light going off on one of our gizmos that's supposed to respond to some kind of electromagnetic disturbance or something like that. There's a lot of these little toys you can buy online for your ghost hunting pleasure. But
that sounds like the Jersey Devil. That's what it sounds like to me.
In terms of about heavy, yes, I've heard the description of that being a big creature.
I doubt it was Mothman. It was more likely in that area. It was probably the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, he just went a little bit into Maryland. That's not that far away.
Migrating south for the winter.
Everybody likes Florida for the winter, right? Even the Jersey. The one thing you'll get when you go explore in the flatlands in Jersey for the Jersey Devil, you'll get bit by ticks carrying Lyme disease.
Yep.
That's what you'll get. It's endemic now in that whole area. It's unfortunate. It started in Connecticut. Bayer has actually been a company that's invested a lot of money into trying to combat that problem. And people, they don't know what the deer tick is, but it's not on a deer. It's a tick that feeds on something a little more close to the ground. It's called a deer mouse. And it carries pestilence. Just like Gene Hackman's wife, with hantavirus and some other rodent. Fucking mouse again. So Rick Serra says, people, watch out for the little things like mice. You don't even know they're coming, and they'll get you in the end. Unsanitary conditions will doom you to an early grave.
Indeed. So I have a question.
I know about those.
Do you believe that Lyme disease was created in a lab? Supposedly it came out from a lab up in, I don't know if it was Connecticut or Long Island. And that's the conspiracy, is that that's where Lyme disease came from.
It is a type of a parasitic organism that, unfortunately, if it gets into you, then the reaction, your body makes to try to control this thing is what happens to you, and they call it Lyme disease. And it gets into the lining of your joints and some other uncomfortable places. And I mean, some people, they suffer tremendously. Some people, they're able to be cured, but I think it's like a year of treatment medically with some kind of product.
I think they use antibiotics, is what
I'm
I've
going to
heard.
say it wrong. I don't care. It's close. Something. It's like a rickettsia. That's the Mayan attempt at trying to pronounce the category of what this thing is that causes Lyme disease.
Now, the first time I ever saw you out ghost hunting, and this is back around 2008, that you guys were at like some old fort, and I think it was in Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly. It was an old fort. It may have been Maryland, but it was I couldn't remember. I couldn't tell you the name, but it had those. Well, I guess all the old forts, they have those. What do they call them? Like tunnels that are shaped like catacombs, whatever they call.
Now, Dan did a investigation at Fort Mifflin, and that's in Philly, but I wasn't with him there. But
It wasn't that one. This was one that
we
you
usually
were on.
go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, of course.
I think that's where it was at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the common place that we've gone to. And I, early on, the way it worked out was we were at that meet and greet. And he actually invited me. He said, well, how would you like to go out and check something out and try to do this? He told me what to buy as far as a recorder and why he picked that one and what kind of a camera to have. So I got a little bit of gear and what I could get in 2 or 3 days, and we went up to Gettysburg together. So I experienced something the first time out there. It was ridiculous. I never knew that this happened. We were in the middle of a little wooded area. It's called Rose Woods. And heard like a cannon go off. Like an old-time cannon. And also then heard some individual like rifles shoot, which were like, it was like 2 parts to the concussion explosion. You heard both of those things. And it was, it's totally bewildering to me. And, Dan at that point had been doing this so many times, he was used to it. It was normal. And, we walked through this wooded area, and I had a recorder. And when I finally played back the audio, I apparently had been saying something like, all right, well, we're going to move and go to a different area. You can follow us if you want. And when I played back the recording, a voice said, no thanks. No thanks.
What's weird is I remember watching that. So as you're telling it, I haven't seen this episode. So, we're going on, what is it? We're heading towards 20 years since that episode came out, or that video came out. And I'm kind of seeing it because I have a really good memory. I won't say I have a photographic memory, but I was visualizing that as you were saying it because I remember watching that. You guys walk around.
I'm glad I relayed that scene.
Yeah.
Because and whenever he introduced someone, we would go back to that as one of the spots to go to in the whole Gettysburg region. You had to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But then
now, Gettysburg is very creepy. I've been there.
Yes.
I've stayed at the Farnsworth House, but nothing happened. Didn't have anything happen, but still, pretty cool place.
Yeah, I've been in there too, and I've also been in the inn right in the middle of town. What's that called? The whatever. Was in there with Dan for a full evening. Got very little luck. We even had, while we're in there, there's a group of people goes through the house that apparently they also let other people through, but he was like he had rented the room for the night, so we didn't expect to see people walking through, but whatever. We were just sort of sitting there with recorders and digital audio recorders, video going, with infrared lights and the whole shebang. We're playing with all of the technology we can and see what we can get, moving from space to space, applying all the equipment in the same manner. Oh well.
It wasn't the Jenny Wade. I think it was the Jenny Wade. There was one house.
That's one of the
There was
structures
one.
where
Yeah.
people claim that there's some kind of activity, and you can go there to that house. You can tour it. It's so much per person, of course, and
Right.
you can be shown the holes in the wall where the rounds hit the building, and she was accidentally killed
Mm-hmm.
by shot.
Now, you had said that there is a place down in Florida that is one of your favorites, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes,
when we were talking the other night.
I found this place through a group that is part of, I guess, people who volunteer to take care of it. It's called Yesteryear Village. It's all the way down, very close to Miami, and I'm in the outskirts of Tampa, so that's a long ride. It's all the way across the state. It's 7-8 hours at least one way. I mean, it's not like it's not doable, but it's not something you can do easily. So I put together actually a trip, and I went down there and met with everybody, including the contact who invited me to join in. And they basically have like a group, a ghost hunting LLC that has gotten themselves have gotten whatever security clearances were necessary. They pay for insurance and bonding, so they get access to some locations that are all in that region of southeastern Florida, and they go to them in a rotating manner. I just have never gotten back, which I'm sure I was welcome to come back from the first time I was there. But it's been one thing or another in terms of, unfortunately, health. For a couple of years there, it was my mother, and now it's my turn to have that with back problems. But hold on to hope to get to do it some point in time, because very enthusiastic and positive group of people,
Do you plan
which
on
is
doing?
nice.
Do you plan on doing more ghost videos once that if,
When I
let's
can
say,
get my ambulation back, yes, I do.
that's awesome. Yeah, I think people would enjoy those.
I knew they
Definitely.
were very well received, and I enjoyed doing it anyway. So it was a win-win. And if I could capture something of what I went through to try to obtain the video that I share with you guys, I also did. It's in San Diego, and this is my last episode, I believe. It was a pay tour. So I paid to go through this little place. And my wife and a guy who I'd been working with on actually an internet project here that I had through my channel. And I'm losing the name of the place. It doesn't matter. If you look up most haunted place in San Diego, or some people think in the country, this is one of the places that's named. So I went through that on this tour, and I couldn't take video. So I took individual photos, and I just took audio. I just did some EVPs, as they used to say all the time, which always got me. No, you're recording audio. You're not EVPs. Can't you say what you are actually doing? I will now turn on the digital recorder. Not, I am now going to EVPs. America is is sadly unsharp mentally. You know that?
Oh, I do.
If
Quite aware of that.
and I can pick it up as doddered and old and insane and semi-senile as I am at my advanced age of 65, almost 66, ready to fall off a cliff. I can still see that, man, we need more brain power, America. Please, put down the drink or the joint or whatever and let your brain recover. My God, drink a few stiff coffees instead.
At least
Or
during the
maybe
day.
some tea. Yeah, like I know it's sad, but it isn't my bag, but I know it happened. In construction, in the trades, these assholes at least are puffing up and getting all spaced out. And then you're going to cut boards and, shoot nails into, anchor studs. And yeah, that's really good. A carpenter, perfect person to be all stoned. Hey, wow, man, I didn't realize I cut my finger off when I was trying to take that plywood and change it to 2x8. And that would be a dangerous cut to make anyway, right?
Oh, yeah. I did
cut
carpentry
across
work
that-
for 10 years.
with it bowing the whole time. And I did it between a couple of resin chairs. All right, so that's a little bit of talk for safety. Think ahead. It might be your last thought.
At least safety third, if nothing
Yes.
else.
Yes. What would
So-
be number one and number two if safety is third?
So in addition to your ghost hunting and your paranormal stuff, you've added a lot of comedy to the videos. So I was going to ask, and people, they love it. People love to laugh. I love to laugh. And there's some people that don't love to laugh, but those are people you really don't want to talk to. But I was going to ask you.
They probably aren't watching the channel at all.
Yeah, they're not watching at this point.
No.
But I was going to ask you, so what are some of your influences for your comedy? Because it's very animated. It's very, I guess that's how, I don't want to say slapstick, but it's very like animated comedy.
Yeah.
But so where do you get, what were say some of your favorite comedians?
Early in
and
the
stuff like
beginning
that?
of SNL, those cats, George Carlin, I like, comedy can make you think at the same time as be comedy. So sometimes when I bring up my bull crap, like my wife especially would say this, it's like, just shut up. But, I have a reason for why I might be putting all this stuff together in this rambling tirade. And it might be to make a little funny point at some point in the evening. Maybe
It's the build-up. You
hours
gotta have the
into
build-up.
it. Gotta have build-up. So that's what we've done for 5 years live with Cocktail Hour with Rick. That was a request that came out of fans saying, we're home. It's the lockdown for COVID. It's 2020. We're bored, man. Rick, could you do something that would maybe be like a live stream of some type or a podcast or, so. Podcast, what the hell's that?
I remember the
That
Christmas,
sounds too much.
your Christmas episode. I was definitely there for that one. That was hilarious because you're all wearing costumes. That was great. I forget. I don't know which year, but it was hilarious. Might have been 2021, but I tuned in and I was just checking YouTube and I didn't even know, and it just said live stream from Rick, and I just saw you. I don't know if you were Santa Claus or were you an elf?
Oh, that is an excellent mask. It's basically an elf.
You were an elf,
And
right?
I put together a commercial. I actually used to put together little commercials for my show, like, why, you need to do a promo for your show. And this was one of the ones I did. And we had just, not me, of course, I didn't do any of it. the household had just created a bunch of yummy cookies. So I just took advantage of this table full of cookies, sat behind it, got a plastic container, and started talking to the camera to do this little ad as this elf guy. And, you know, it was an ad lib thing. I threw a bunch of little crazy little bits here and there. It was only about a minute, but that's one of my proudest moments, really, that one little minute for that little ad. But it's that same exact character you're talking about. That's pretty funny that you like that.
Oh yeah. Now you've always been good at doing stuff on the fly, unscripted. Because a lot of the stuff when you guys would be going through like Kmart's and thrift stores, that was just all just off the hook,
that was
right?
That was stream of consciousness. If you could even find that as the basis for it, but definitely you had to use the environment to try to trigger some creativity. And it's funny because we would be doing it and he's filming it, and even when I do a part and I knew it sucked, and then I go, well, that really didn't work very good. He go, yeah, oh, well, we just kept moving. And of course, in the final end, he just cut all that shit out. But finally, we'd reach something, and I knew I had something that must be fairly funny when he started to laugh. If he was quiet, then that was
right.
Not as telling. I loved when, start to get him laughing at what I have said and trying to comment, maybe laughing too hard he can't even reply what he's trying to say about it. That's the best moments. But he's also got me,
gold.
He got me badly with a couple of different colognes at the very beginning of one of our Kmart shopping events. We had just gotten in the front of the store, and it's like where all the cheapest cologne is for the person making the last minute dash for a gift for their loved one. And we were going by both the women's and men's scents. And at some point in time, I didn't realize I was vulnerable. Dan had a full bottle tester in his hand. And I turn into looking towards him, and he starts hitting me with the tester. And oh my God, it was hilarious for anybody watching except for me. But in watching it afterwards, it was funny.
Did you have to wash that off like a skunk? Like you had to take tomato juice?
Yeah, it wasn't quite that bad, but yeah, it took about 5-10 minutes to get clear. My lungs, that is,
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny. It was not that bad.
That could be like a new pepper spray. Use cologne instead of pepper spray.
On one of my later shopping trips, I got on the floor and rolled around with a giant stuffed animal of some type. I don't know what that was.
That was a great one.
Was it a rabbit maybe? I don't know, but oh my God. And trying to jump inside of a big giant basket full of some kind of other product. I've done a couple of these bits over and over again, but they still work well. Going around where they have in Roses for some reason, a few other shopping centers you might have heard of, little chains like this.
Oh yeah,
a bunch of the artificial flowers are all together at this one aisle on both sides, and they even have like styrofoam headstones and other fake monumentary material that could be used. And I created an ad for your roadside memorial. Basically, all this stuff I showed people, and at the end, that's what I fit for your roadside memorial needs. Come to Roses. It was. Nothing was sacred, I had to go, and I did also the Hardy Johnson with flowers, and I come up, act like the German that he portrayed in Laugh-In. When he would peek up out of the flowers and then come back down. Do you know Laugh-In, or is that too far before your time?
I thought you were going to say Hogan's Heroes. That's what I was thinking.
No, that was good too. But no, I was talking about, he would always do this one laughing. If you didn't know it, I'm sorry. But if anybody followed along, I did that in one of those videos. So shopping with Rick on the other person's channel.
Now, there's still roses. Believe it or not, I was down at some part of North Carolina, and I saw roses. I had to go take a photo of it because I didn't think they existed anymore.
I just saw one in Florida here.
Yeah, there's still a few.
There's still a few of them around.
Kmart's gone, though.
I know.
As far as I know. It's done. Gone.
I'd heard that it was still living in Australia and Canada.
That's possibly another country. Right. I didn't think about that. So you've done the comedy, you've done the ghost hunting. So then you guys started going to motels, and what you would do is, I'll tell you one reason why I really like this show, because as a traveling musician, touring musician for for 20 years or whatever, more over 20 years, we've stayed in some real bad places because we didn't always have money to stay at a decent hotel. We had to stay. Well, half the time we're sleeping on kitchen floors at people's houses.
You're like hanging in people and crashing at people's places,
right?
Yeah.
But if we got to stay at a crack motel, that was actually an upgrade what we were usually used to. Because at least you could get a shower, and it was not so much craziness going on.
So you really could appreciate where we were coming from, showing you these places.
I just want to say no offense to the people that had really nice houses that we stayed at. Yes. I'm not talking about you guys.
We're not trying to say that. We're just talking about the skanky rooms.
What was probably the nastiest one? And I'm sure other people have asked you this. I guarantee on your live streams, people ask you that in your live stream.
Well,
what was probably the worst or most
It's not the obvious.
One?
It's not the obvious. I think people go to, because the place that we actually helped close up in Detroit, that was it King's Court? And any place that's named with King in it, it's not going to be that great, but they're saying it is. Or was it the Royal? I forget. I think maybe it was Royal Inn. It's whatever generic lying title you want to have. But when you go to different places, we found that places with that same title were also nasty. So it was a trend. But we went there and we found actually it was infested with lots of different things, including bed bugs. And a gentleman with a fairly successful film group called Bright Sun Films, Jake Williams, accompanied us with Brendan Evangelista, and he agreed, this is Jake, to be fed upon by a bed bug. So we caught one, and he agreed. We put it on his arm. We watched it engorge itself within minutes from a pathetic-looking, almost dead insect worm-like thing, maybe the size of quarter-inch long, to the one end all swollen up by itself, about a half-inch diameter or more, just the abdomen from its meal. He didn't feel a thing. He didn't have any rash afterwards. There are some people who are sensitive to bed bug bites, and
that's me. And
it becomes a big problem for them.
Yep.
I'm not sure if there's anything you can do other than you can get alcohol.
Benadryl is the only thing that works
for you internally. Externally, it's
internally
on the road. Have a bottle that you can spray with, and buy isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Pour that into the sprayer and spray over your bed, wherever you are. You will get rid of every bed bug. They'll run away or they'll die. So if you have some bodies that you see pop up, you may want to but at least you protect yourself. It's 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 like a reality check.
That's interesting. Alcohol. I never knew that about bed
Yeah,
bugs.
kills them
It kills
instantly.
them. Wow. I'll tell you the last time I ever stayed at a crappy motel. This is 2012.
Uh-huh.
This is like December 2012. I was
This
playing in a
is
band, drums in a
perfect
band
timing.
called Morning Glory. We're on the West Coast.
Morning
So
glory, huh? Were you tripping?
we're coming
Because
down. Oh no,
you ate some of the seeds.
no, but we're coming down. We just played Ventura, California, and then I
Wow,
think we
there
were
you
headed
go.
to Los Angeles for the next show.
In the sunshine,
Oh, it was very nice.
where the
Always
days are
sunshine.
longer.
It's always out there. It's really nice. Like I see why everybody wants to go out there and be,
I was throwing the lyrics at you
live-
from the song by America. I hope you knew that.
I didn't catch that.
Yes, that's what I was doing to you.
But we stayed at this Motel 6. Now, usually we had a rule that we wouldn't stay, but we were all so tired, it was late, and there was no other place to stay. I guess
Right.
everybody's booked up.
I've stayed at a couple, believe it or
So-
not, and they
Oh,
weren't
man.
as bad as I thought they were supposed to be.
This place wouldn't have been so bad, but there were bed bugs, and we didn't know
Oh,
that.
there you
and
go.
and we
Well-
didn't do the check. See, you should always do a bed bug check. But I tell you, from that day on, I always did.
So
But
what did
so
you?
we
were
woke
you
up in the
getting
middle of the night,
getting bit?
and
You had
I had slept
itching
on the
going
floor. Well,
Yeah.
I had slept on the floor,
Ah.
and I didn't feel anything. But then the one of the dudes, I don't know if it was the guitar player or who it was, at some point in the night just says, it just goes. He's like, "There's bed bugs in here." I guess he was getting bit. So the singer he picks up one, puts
Yeah.
it in a book, one of his lyric books, and he squishes it, and then
Okay.
he takes it to the front desk and says,
Yeah.
"Look, right here, this is what you got." So what I did, I think I went out to the van. I was like, "There's no way," but it was too late. I'd already gotten bit, and apparently, until I did not know it until that day that I'm deathly allergic. Not deathly allergic, but very allergic. Like I welted up on my. I had a couple
Bad
on my
welt.
legs. Oh, big welts
Where every
on my arm.
where every bite was.
Yeah, and it was bad. It was so uncomfortable. Those remaining shows that we did for the next like 5 days, it was terrible.
Really? Oh,
So
I'm sorry.
from that day forward, I will, even if I stay at a nice hotel, I always do the check. I do the bed bug check. So
Yeah.
so anyway, so when you guys were doing
So what do you
those
do?
episodes,
What are your?
I started laughing because that's what I do. Every place I check everything because I can't play with those bugs.
Yeah, you gotta peel back the covers, the
Yep.
bedspread. You gotta look on the sheets, or look
Yep.
actually better under the corners where the fitted sheet usually would be.
Right. Now it's
And-
gotten a lot better since they started covering those mattresses with plastic.
Right. Well,
it's gotten a lot less of a
we had a
problem.
terrible explosion because people weren't really used to dealing with this, and through the 20 to 2010, and then the years that followed that, just bed bugs. It went crazy, crazy. I saw it all through healthcare too. I go to inspect a place that has renal dialysis. That's all they do during the day. Bed bug infestation.
Wow.
Where the people coming in from
Mhm.
wherever they live, needing to be cared for, so their hygiene is dependent upon the people that's caring for them. Well, the bed bug's a great hitchhiker.
Mm-hmm.
And one time, to some group's horror, they had a medical adult daycare. I don't know if you have those anywhere in your listener areas, but it's run by an RN, and they're supposed to work with whatever your medical professionals are, one by one for every client. And so you go there, you must really have some medical needs, but it's better than staying at home all the time alone. And it also gives caregivers a break. So it's a good model where people have it. It's usually licensed, and sometimes you can get insurance reimbursement, or it might be Medicare type thing. So that's why we check those. And person was coming in from a place, and I think I had a complaint, and I called and reached out to the group, and they then checked the clients coming in the next day, and the one guy had them all over his legs under his long pants. So,
Wow.
yeah, I hated those dumb things.
What was another room that you think, or motel that
Motel, that was really
really stood
bad.
out to you?
It's
Yeah.
it's gotta be the one place in West Virginia or the place in New Orleans. The one in New Orleans where the wall was so moist, and when we looked at the mattress, which had been kept inside of the plastic bag that you buy it in, but it never was removed, but it had gotten cuts in it over the years, and people like urinated in bed, and it absorbed into the mattress. And when you used a black light on this and you videotaped it, it was like you were looking at a sample of some kind of a medical experiment, and maybe the surface of a foreign land or a planet. I mean, it was just unreal. So that's a great one from, I guess it was the West Virginia season. We started to do different towns or different areas, and all the way up to the ones we did that were the last four in Pennsylvania. And the idea was to continue doing that type of thing. In fact, there were talk of doing a cross-country investigation all the way across from South Carolina to Las Vegas, and maybe go to Torino as well, just to pick up maybe some old, like, haunted mines and shit like that.
Did anybody recognize you guys? Like if you stopped at a hotel or motel
Yes,
and you weren't able to
we had
actually
we had a
do it?
couple encounters, and the one I think is most funny is actually we came in, and I don't know whether they said nothing at first, but the one guy realized he recognized Dan, I think. But we got a room, and we went to the room, and we opened the door and went inside, and it had been totally redone. Everything was new. New air conditioner through the wall, furniture, flooring. There was nothing wrong with this room. It was not a dirty room. We can't do clean rooms. That's a waste of time. So we go back to the lobby and try to ask if they would consider giving us our money back that we really didn't want to, and explain what we were doing. And the guy then lets us know he recognized Dan, because I know who you are.
Wow.
Whatever. And then he like called his girlfriend who was in the back watching television and got her to come out. And I don't know. They might have also recognized me. Well, you'd think so if you watched the show at all and you recognized Dan. I mean, I was pretty fat and giant back then. You couldn't miss me, could you? Oh my God. Maybe you were too busy watching the other guy, the Eye Candy, either Eye Candy #1, the original, Will Krapinski.
Right, there was Will, and then there was
and then
Jake, right?
After there was the other, that was the college guy at first. He was still going to undergraduate school. Brennan Evangelista.
Brent. Okay, right, yeah.
Brennan, yeah. It's not Brendan. It's Brennen. Brennan.
Brennan. I know a Brennan up in New York, so yeah.
It's not without an example. That name, I've heard of it before. I think it's kind of unique in a classy kind of way. So, unfortunately, I have not been in touch with anybody related to either Bright Sun Film or Brendan for quite some time. I see some of their stuff coming out, and they still do great work.
So they're still active, those guys.
Oh, definitely very active. I know that Jake Williams just released a pretty big video just recently, like a couple weeks ago.
That's cool. So they're still putting out
Yeah,
stuff.
that was a big project for him. That was the USS America, which was I think a cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up becoming a wreath, or reef is the way you say it, not wreath. The smoke had, it clung to his head like a reef. No, wreath, stupid. Okay, so REEF. They blew a bunch of holes in it and sunk it, so it'll become an artificial reef or
Gotcha.
ecosystem, wherever they did that.
So I have a question. So when you guys would do the dirty rooms, right?
Yes.
You would have this little toolkit. And
We had quite a bit of stuff. Yes,
but you had your own special little toolkit.
At
Usually
one point,
when you would
I had a ridiculous, like, super version of
like scalpels and stuff in there, and tweezers.
Right.
But where did that come from?
Well, we got things donated to us. People would send us different components to help us to do investigations after a while. We had no budget, yeah, we got some things that way. But I put together at first like a pocket protector with a thermometer and a flashlight, and I just threw a bunch of crap in there, and I wore button-down shirts almost deliberately in the beginning to make it look like, I was the inspector, and then, the other guys, like, he's either for the young people's perspective or to assist the old man when he takes apart the bed, especially when they flip over the mattress and that kind of thing. We had a ball. That's the bottom line with that whole series. We had a ball doing it. Not that it wasn't hard at times, and not that
it looked like it stunk a lot, like literally stunk.
Oh yeah, literally.
It literally smelled bad.
You had to put up with that. And
and the mold is terrible.
God bless him. Brennan was he endured more of the sniffing duty than was his share, but he still did. Now, I succumbed to losing all of my self-respect. We used this device that Dan found that you would use to wipe a surface with a little swab, and then you put it into this machine, and magically it could use some kind of an internal light to give you a reading of 0 to 9999 is a clean. It's like it reacted to a common protein or something that would be in a living organism. So they would equate that to bacteria, filth, whatever. And it was used for food service, but he got one of these things, and they were not cheap. And the swabs you had to get, those were like 50 swabs for maybe $200 or some crazy thing. So like $4 a piece. So everything cost a lot of money, all this equipment. We used forensic stuff while we could. At first, they sold you test kits for drugs. Then they realized that drug people could buy these test kits for drugs to make sure their drugs were good before they went to sell their drugs. So I guess the police or courts or whatever said, "Oh, stop selling that shit." So you can't buy that anymore, but you can still buy luminol, and the test version, which is not toxic, supposedly. But, and you can use that to your heart's delight, and it lights up like a son of a bitch when you hit some blood. And then there's this little thing you can get that's like basically a individual swab stick, and you can use it with just some distilled water to swab a surface, and then it will give you an indication if it's positive for blood. So sometimes we'd even use that in coordination with if the luminol seemed to be going crazy and it's lighting up crazy weird, and it's like, is this even really blood? Then we'd pull out a heme test kit and touch some of that goo in the middle there where it's all purple and shit. And sure enough, it tests positive. So we know, yeah, the sink was covered with blood.
Mm-hmm.
At one place, the Swan Motel put us on the map. Literally. We super Reddited for a couple of days that we trended on Reddit. Our big thing. First time, I guess, really hitting big. That was season 1, and that was, I think, episode 12. Maybe it's wrong. Dan has a diorama somebody created of the Swan Motel episode. But that was one of our first and most truly horrible experiences with so much blood in a place. There was blood on both sides of the bed, on the floors, inside the bathroom, on the inside of the bathroom door.
You know what it was probably? It was probably junkies shooting up.
Yes, I mean,
bet a lot of that
accumulation.
happened.
Yes, accumulation of spray. And like with the door being shut and you're shooting up and you're hitting the door with whatever spray, and that's why the door is getting, was getting hit. But some people, they like to sit on the side of a bed. So it's right on the floor beside the bed.
Wow.
One time we luminoled, and this is like the murder with the baby. It was like when we sprayed, we could see this pattern of like feet, hand, knee, which would be a baby like crawling through blood.
Wow.
When we went through and sprayed it, that's what appeared. And we all just screamed when we saw that. I forget where that happened, but that was heinous. So, we actually investigated places that had very bad things happen. I did a place called the Garden Inn, and Dan did it many times since we did it originally. And he and I did it with a friend of his. It was the three of us doing it. So first we went through as if it was our regular dirty room investigation, but it was live. And we broadcast the live part, and we had fun with it, And it was a fairly nasty place, but it wasn't as nasty as we have seen. But it was good for that. After we turned off the live, we just did a paranormal investigation all by itself. And what I mean is that there was no live broadcast. So I put that out on my channel under the Another Odd Place. That's in season 1. And like I said, it's called the Garden Inn. It's one of the only times I catch a little bit of video evidence of something. Either spirits trying to manifest or a large concentration of orbs. But that's in the middle of that video if you want to see some video of what I think was possibly a ghost. There's also some funny shit in this little episode, including Dan saying something about, do you like gays? The spirit said no.
Homophobic spirits.
Yes, it did.
Hey, so I got a question. So
Go for it.
It's more of a statement than a question. I just remember when you would take the gloves, you would have the rubber gloves, and you would do like the proctologist and
Oh my God.
pop. You'd hear the pop. That's when you knew things were getting ready to get serious.
Yes,
When
yes.
the gloves came out. Usually you would be in a bathroom most of the time, and that's when the gloves came out.
Well, with the gloves, would supposedly touching nasty surfaces, you should wear gloves.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right, but I touch a lot of dirty surfaces without gloves in life in general. Wash
Oh, and drink.
afterwards,
And
at least.
I totally forgot. But drinking beer was
that
one
was
of
it.
the.
That
That
was
was part of
something-
the show too. What
Right.
beer did you? What was
That
your
was
beer of
it.
choice?
Yes, we had. Wouldn't
Totally
it be
forgot about
better?
that.
Wouldn't it be better? And it would always be yes, and then we would pick which beer in advance that we might have a couple different brands, and we would mention which beer we'll start with, and Brennan could pop open the cap off of a bottle with his mouth. So he would pop the caps off right there on camera, and you guys can go like this at home. But apparently he has some kind of a impregnable tooth
He's a
that
good dentist
cannot be
and some good
damaged
genetics.
by metal or glass. And genetics, yes. He must have drank just lots and lots of calcium powder as a boy. But then we would, even clink the bottle if we would remember to like toast each other and have a nice cold swallow beforehand. Now, Dan wasn't drinking at this point in time at all. A lot of the times we were shooting, Dan was actually on the wagon at the time, so he could concentrate. And
Well, there was a few times that's
craft.
good because you guys occasionally we go a little overboard.
yes, that's
once in a while.
That's unfortunate.
Well,
when
listen,
it comes to having
it's all for
beer
the sake
or
of
alcohol.
entertainment.
Yes,
the show,
yeah.
you got to give the people what they want. So
Just,
you had to take
don't
one
want-
for the team. That's
one
all.
for the team, but you don't want to be too messed up. When we were in Cleveland, so we were doing one of the rooms, and I was asked to drink and get buzzed and try to be goofy. And I'm like, okay, that's not, doesn't sound. So what did they buy that they were able to get? Amaretto and some kind of other liquor. Maybe it was Kahlua. And I'm supposed to get giddy drunk off of these sickening sweet girl drinks. Sorry, anybody who likes them. I like them occasionally, but that's like a person who drinks one, like the Amaretto and Coke at the Christmas party once a year. That's what Amaretto is for. It's just like you can pretend you got some alcohol in you, but it's like a thimbleful, when the rest of us had quart each. And we're still sitting up and you're sleeping in the chair in the corner. Amaretto girl. I don't know where I was going with that, but I hope it worked out. I looked
Well, at least you
myself
guys
right in the eye.
At least they were making you guys drink like Mad Dog 2020
They couldn't get
anything
any stuff that would work.
or like
right.
Silver. What did they have in Philly? They had Silver Thunder, and then in North Carolina it was Hurricane. It's like the cheapest of the malt liquor, like
but
40.
the
You get a
Mad
40 ounce of
Dog-
malt liquor,
Mad Dog would do it.
right?
Or
because
the Schlitz malt liquor bull.
oh, Schlitz, to taste it is to love
Oh,
it. I had a
my
friend
God.
used to have a shirt that said that. It was like Schlitz,
Yeah, I remember
to
that
taste it is to
slogan.
love it.
Yep.
We love that shirt. It was, man, that shirt's probably worth a lot these days, but it was rare. He was even rare back then. This is like 20 years ago.
So Billy D. Williams just turned 88.
Really, I'm not familiar. Who's Billy D. Williams?
He did a commercial for Schlitz malt liquor bull in the
Oh, wow.
day. I'm almost certain. Yep.
Even sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The Ramones did they did several commercials for Steel Gravity. I think it was the name of the malt liquor.
Oh.
Gravity. I forget how it goes, but you should look that up. But there's Steel Reserve. That's what it is.
Steel
High
Reserve.
gravity.
Good.
Yeah, Steel Reserve. High gravity lager. Do. Steel Reserve. High gravity lager. And it's actually a really good song. If you ever want to go check it out.
So
It's just on the YouTube's
do you drink the beverages, beer, etc.?
I like beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have any one or two favorites of all kind that are your choice if you get to choose?
Oh, I've been drinking Budweiser. That's been my beer of choice.
Budweiser? You seriously?
That's been the one since I don't know, forever now. Like that was the one. Like you know what?
Well, I know
good
you
one,
do.
a
You do
good
have
one
a
that I
high IQ. I can tell by talking to you. So
a good
it
one
must
that
work.
it's all the Budweiser.
It
But
made Budweiser, right?
it did. Another good one is Yingling that I
drank
discovered.
that.
I didn't even know that existed until I moved to Philadelphia, and that was like the beer. In Philly, that's what everybody drinks is Yingling.
Yeah, it's like the local,
so that was
but
another good
it's
one.
also the oldest brewer
It's the
in
old-
the
yep.
nation.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Right
That would
there.
be my second favorite beer if
All
I
right.
had to pick one.
I rarely have Budweiser, but I can't say I never drank it at one point in time. It's, the Clydesdale horses, I just felt so bad about the Clydesdales that they got rid of the Clydesdales.
But they're back now.
They did not. They got rid of them and they used them to make beer. Had extra hops.
The build-up. See, there's the build-up.
Oh, my God.
Gotta have the build-up.
I didn't know where I was going to pull that out, but I found it. That's called On the Fly. Okay.
All right, so... okay, so let's see. Oh, so two things I wanted to ask you. Okay, let's go back in time. You're like, say, 10 years old, say 5 to 10.
All right.
Okay, we're going back in time. What were you doing for fun? Now, you had mentioned you did like hiking and jogging and stuff,
Yeah.
but what did you like doing when you were a kid? What was
Yeah.
some of your interests?
Well,
I like hearing these
I liked
stories.
bicycling, sort of medium distance, 20 miles or so in a day. I did that from an early age. And there was a convenient place that was very cool to go to. Loch Raven Reservoir, which is a major reservoir for Baltimore area as far as drinking water. So I thought that was a big deal, and I didn't have to have much more to do than just walk around and check it out and enjoy everything. I wasn't a super advanced at 10 years of age. I wasn't looking for the social setting, the cultural network nexus. It was just whatever kids did.
Were you playing
Might
sports
actually
or
use-
anything?
Did I do what?
Were you playing sports or anything like that?
I was never a coordinated child. I did play football. And when I say I played football, it was like I was on lineman, offense or defense, nothing real flashy. And, people would run on my feet. And one time my feet were so torn up, I had to seek advanced medical care from a skin specialist. It was terrible. I had like infected wounds over athlete's foot.
Oh man,
Yes,
that's gotta be terribly uncomfortable.
It wasn't good. I had to end up like dipping my feet in some kind of iodine solution, like a couple times a day. Yeah, it was.
Well, what were some of your hobbies? Like, I know riding bikes kind of a hobby.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
What were you? What were
we
you
played
into?
around the house, but I started to read, and I mentioned it once before, but I read all into the whole ancient alien theory stuff, starting with Eric Van Daniken's couple of books. Chariots of the Gods was the start of it, and I just liked looking up books into that whole area of study, and
so you were reading these books when you were young.
I was, yeah.
So you were already getting into
So I was,
the stuff.
like 101 Elephant Joke book. When I also had that at the same time as I had the Chariots of Fire.
Okay. So I always like the medieval books. Those are the books I like to read.
Gotcha.
Like, it could either be like history, or I like the fiction as well. There'd be like a lot of books but it would be a series. Like today, you have a lot of TV. It's all TV series or YouTube series. But back then, you could get a series of books that an author would write, and it was just as good as because you're making the show up in your mind.
Exactly. It's your mind. It's your story.
Yeah, and I think it helps for creativity when you read a lot.
Yeah.
When you read younger, I think it does help for creativity because you have to imagine what you're reading. You create images in your head. That's a theory of mine. That
right. I tried to learn to play both the trumpet, a cornet size, and didn't really go very well. I tried, but I was able to sort of hold the lips and get a few notes here and there. And I got a hold of an old, messed up trumpet, bugle, whatever, from somebody, and it was even falling apart. Like one of the soldering joints was ready to pop open where the keys are. But I was able to pucker up the lips after, decades. I guess I was like 45 at the time and gave it a blow. That felt good. It had been decades since I'd blown that horn. But I also tried to learn guitar, and the funny thing about the guitar lessons was the gal, she had a place down at the bottom of the street from where we lived, so it was very convenient for me to walk to. And I guess she was like maybe, say, 30, 35, whatever. And she had big breasts. But she wasn't otherwise a giant lady, but she just had big breasts. And she tried to reach around to show me how to hold my fingers and how to hold the pick and how to strum and move the arm, while the whole time her breasts are dragging into my shoulder blades. I was a dorky 10-year-old. This was not like arousing me sexually at 10 years old. No. It freaked me out. I had the same reaction at the Moose Club when my mother made me get up and slow dance with this girl that this other family had been going there, and I was being dragged along for, I don't know how long they did the Moose. Maybe 7, 8 months. Oh my God. So we went to the Moose Lodge on Friday nights, you know what I mean? Oh, almost every Friday night. It's hell. And this girl, when I danced with her, she had these giant boobs. So it's like I'm really freaked out by the boobs back then. I don't know why. Because now, I can't get near any other boobs. And if I do get near Darlene's boobs, she tells me to get the fuck off. So it's like all this fear I had when I was 10 or 11. And it stopped me from getting into guitar until I was 16. Where I actually had a business cutting lawns, and I saved up my own money, and I bought my own first guitar.
That's funny you mentioned that. The very first electric guitar, I saved up lawn mowing money. Me and this other kid, I was 12 years old. Now, this was later on when I bought the electric guitar, but I was 12 years old. Me and my friend, we started mowing people's lawns with a push mower. We would just walk around town with pushing the push mower in the street,
and just hoping you could catch up something.
Wow. Right, and we did. We picked up some houses, and then we went to the place that did business cards, and we made a deal with them. There was like the local print shop. We're like, we'll give you 2 free. We'll cut your grass for free twice if you make us some business cards. So when I was 12 years old, we already had business cards. So that was pretty cool. That's funny you mentioned that. But then later on, that's how I saved up money for my first electric guitar was by cutting lawns.
That explains
my first good electric guitar. That's funny.
The whole your history and all of your success and how it culminates here on the Early Gate Show. I just can't tell you how happy I am to be a part of your show this episode.
I'm very happy you came on. I want to add on to the boob story though.
Okay.
So
add one.
The reason, so the reason I continued on, I think I really went full throttle playing, rock and roll music, is so when I was 13, me and my friends had this band. I had, two of my friends. Well, my one friend I known, since we were little kids. And then there was this other guy who I kind of knew, but he popped out of nowhere. We needed a drummer, so we didn't know him as good. But me and my other friend, we've been playing guitar since we were little. So we put together this cover band, and
Right.
I don't even know, we didn't even have a name, I don't think. But we would do songs like, Taking Care of Business, Johnny Be Good. We did some metal songs. So we were like a metal classic rock band. I don't know how you would
right.
describe it. And it was no bass player. It was just two guitars and drummer. So anyway, our friend, the drummer, he had a birthday party. And like I said, I'm 13. The other guy, we're all around 13. But he might have been a little bit older. He might have been turning
So what did you guys get?
16.
A gig to play his party?
So we played his birthday party, right?
All right.
For first ever, not for performing for people, but as a band. It's
Right,
the first
right,
time
right.
I ever played with a band that wasn't bluegrass. That was actually rock and roll. So we finished, right? And this chick, she was a little bit older. She was probably like 15 years old. So we're done. She's like, that was great. And she comes up and just starts making out with me.
Whoa!
And right after that, I was like, I'm going to keep doing this guitar thing.
I think so.
I think I'm going to
Look
keep
at
playing
that.
this.
Man.
That's not too bad. So that's how I got.
If I had just,
I decided to keep doing it.
if I'd have just dug the boobs when I was 10, where I could have ended up, you just can't imagine.
It
But
can get you a lot of trouble too.
yes, but so I never really developed into a consummate musician such as yourself. I'm a dabbler again, because I talked to you about this. I let my hands basically stop playing guitar too long, and it's like I know to hold chords and things like this, but I'm having my hands go numb as I'm trying to just start.
That'll happen.
So
Yeah.
I have to rehab my hands, and as you said, just do a little each day, do a little more, and then
Like working out. Yep.
slowly work them out. I'm thinking of getting those. There are these wrist splints that you can use if you're fighting the symptoms I'm having. I'm having my hands fall asleep at any time now, unfortunately.
Nerves,
and
right?
It's like carpal tunnel. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's carpal tunnel, so I have to do that to stretch out the hands to take off the pressure off of that tendon so that it doesn't start this whole sleep hand thing. It's very uncomfortable after your hand
bet,
falls
yeah.
asleep. Yeah. No fun.
So it seemed like whenever throughout not just the dirty rooms, not just the going like it seems like everything you've done, you have a good general knowledge of a lot. You are one of those people, and I've met several people like you throughout my life. You have just a general knowledge of a whole lot of different stuff. Now, does that come from reading books when you were younger, or continual study, or your job? Where do you think that comes from? Because there's
it's a
people like
combination
you.
of those things, but
You're like a
and
fountain
retaining,
of, like an encyclopedia almost. You have a lot of.
watch how things are done, and there some kind of system, it is a basis of being able to repeat some kind of activity. You got to have something, a song. It has a structure. You have to memorize it, and then you can play it over and over again. But it takes time to get basically decided what is the song, because you can make modification of it the whole time you're trying to create it, which is beautiful. And in life, that doesn't change. It also changes with how you look at life, or how you respond to things, which hopefully you can calm down as you get older and wiser, like me. I wish I could say I was that wise. But, I don't know. I think I'm going off on a tangent to a tangent. Want to throw another modifying question out there so I can...
But what I was getting at is, do you think, like, you seem to have a broad range of knowledge about a lot of different stuff. Does that come from all the reading you did, or from your job, or
I think
just
it was
life
multiple
experience,
different
or
job
everything?
experiences. And I started out with in college, and actually my first paying job where I was actually getting uh, taxable money taken and withheld and all that jazz wasn't until my senior year. I was under the table before that. So finally, my senior year of high school, I get a summer job, and I actually, have to do the taxes the following year because I earned some money. And then I also then earned money doing labor. And you learn the job that you're doing, even though it's manual labor. I was doing asphalt construction, or even a general construction. I had a job where I was building a foundation for a small building.
Mm-hmm.
It was like maybe a 30 by 30 structure, something like that. So we were doing the foundations that were like down at about 6 feet, and we had to form it up, and then they poured the concrete in. We were using the vibrators to get the air out of all of the concrete so it would cure properly. And I didn't know any of this shit, but I learned about it with every
Right. Yeah.
different thing I was shown. And I think that's how you learn. If you get
Mm-hmm.
in enough different other situations, they sort of become teachers. My father was a big teacher to me. Uh, Gardening in my backyard with my dad, or tinkering around the house, doing some basic carpentry, basic electric switches, things like that. And I picked it up from watching and working with him on these type of things. And I don't know. I guess that's basically my assumption for how it accumulates in the head. I can't say that I was so well read, but I can say that when I took my coursework in college, I would be the person who remembered the content the year after that, where you were supposed to have already had this basic understanding. And other classmates didn't have that. They had to keep referring back to remembering what that was because they didn't really fully get it down, basically.
That explains a lot, because people that work in construction, and like I told you, I did, carpentry work, but I had to help all the departments. I was the young kid at the time, so I had to help everybody. I had to help the painters, the electricians, the plumbers. But I already, growing up, if you grew up in the South, you learn a lot of that growing up, especially if you grow up poor, because you got to fix your own stuff as you're growing up. But that explains a lot. But the construction thing, people would not believe, people that work in construction are very learned about a lot of different things, because you have to be. Like when it comes to whether it be chemicals,
Right.
what chemicals can you mix, not mix, lots of different things. So that explains a lot. You have to have a very good, like, especially if you're serious about it. Working in construction, you have to have a lot of good general knowledge about a lot of different things. So I think that maybe that's where a lot, but also said your childhood, what you learned from your dad.
After I got out of school, the first job I had lasted only a month, and it was with a company that was one of these chemical spill cleanup type outfits. Supposedly knew everything about hazardous wastes and all, but they were faking the whole time. But they send somebody out and they charged you $100 an hour for the consultation service. So I worked for this company literally for like 2 days, and that person who hired me resigned. So the owner then tells me I'm temporarily in charge of the section, and it was the environmental section. So I was taking the telephone calls, and they could be calling about jobs from left field, you don't know what is coming in. And I just had to bullshit people for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I went out a few times, so I guess I learned a tiny little bit. And of course, I'd just gotten out of college, and I did work in a lab at college. It was a agricultural lab, but still, a little bit of familiarity with the technology of the time. But, I hadn't done a job like you go to a laboratory that has a bunch of old reagents, and you need to put these together and separate the ones that interact and could cause a terrible chemical reaction, a fire, whatever. And it was called a lab pack. So, here I am. I'm getting a call. The customer has, give me a list of all this stuff. I don't know what the fuck it is. But, and they need a lab pack done. I'm like, okay, yes, sir. And how much, and this and that and other. And I said, okay, well, and then whatever I said to get off the phone, and took the information down enough to be able to follow up and try to figure out what the fuck am I supposed to know before I call back. So I looked up what I could. That wasn't exactly the age of computers yet. And I found that I was told also I needed to hire somebody because I told them I was going to resign. After 2 weeks in, I told them I was going to resign. And I said, now look, I'm really sorry, but I've been trying to get a job with the city of Baltimore. And I had been on like a list for backup if somebody who took the positions that were open decided they didn't want to stay on. I got callback potential. And they called me back. And I'm going to take the job, so I'm sorry. It has a much more benefits, and it's what I was hoping to get into. I'm sorry, I hope you can handle it. Okay. So I hired somebody, and she ended up becoming my replacement. But she was not even as well seasoned as I was. She had just gotten out of college.
Mm-hmm.
But she took over the office, and after I resigned and started working for the city of Baltimore, I actually dated her for a little while. Well, you never know what happens. Things happen a little bit for a short period of time.
All right, so I got one more thing I want to ask
One
you.
more thing he wants
One
to get
more
into.
thing.
Okay.
My scribble pad here.
Good.
I want to
Glad
ask
you got
you.
your notes.
Oh yeah. So what do you do? So what for fun now? Okay, now you're doing you have your live stream and you're still putting out content. But what do you do for fun? Like, what does Rick do? What's fun for Rick these days?
Still love to go camping. We have several camping trips coming up. One of them is going to be up north of us. It's supposed to be a beautiful spring. I've been in some other springs where we'll rent kayak or kayaks. I have a float for my dog, so we'll go kayaking. We'll go camping up this particular park, which is a Florida state park. So we'll probably have electric and water. So that's tremendous right there, having water to be able to do everything and not have to keep refilling a tank.
Mm-hmm.
But then I hold everything till the end, just like you might try to do before you run to the bathroom that morning. I do that with my campers. I don't let it out until it's time. I know a lot of people, they camp and they open up everything and they put the hose connected up and they just let the poo-poo and the pee-pee go right down into the hole without letting it stick around. They let it go right down that hole. And they think that's such a good idea. There's one bad thing about it.
So you like getting outdoors. So you like
Yes.
getting out in nature. You like, you said, was it college basketball or football? Which one? Which one do you like?
I like both. I like
Okay,
both.
so you're into college sports.
College
so,
sports, and I also
that's
like
your
NFL. I used to be a baseball fan. Now I'm sort of an occasional monitor, but I'm really not a rabid baseball fan. I gave that up a long time ago. After the long ago strike, I sort of got a... But then, the football people have done the same kind of crap, but I guess I always liked football more than baseball when it came down to it.
But you're going up. You're going where the skunk apes are, where you're camping out. Isn't that where the skunk ape? You heard of the skunk ape, right? I'm sure you've heard of the skunk ape.
I didn't get into there. Do you mean Myakka River State Park?
I'm not sure the name of the state park.
That's
I
where
just know
it's
there's a
supposed
lot of
to
them down
be a story related to it, and into the Everglades. So no, I'm not going there.
Okay.
Rainbow Springs is north of Clearwater, probably about an hour and a half above Clearwater. So it's pretty far, up.
If I ever make it down there, we're gonna go look. I'm gonna find you, and we're gonna go look for skunk ape. How's that sound?
Skunk ape, you want to do an investigation?
Yeah,
for
yeah.
skunk
We gotta
ape?
go. We gotta find that skunk ape. He's stinking up the place down there.
Yes.
We gotta do something about
It's
that.
it's a
We're
problem.
gonna take some of that perfume. We're gonna pick up some of that perfume from. We'll have to go to Rose's since Kmart's not around. We'll go to Rose's, pick up some of that perfume, and we'll take that and we're gonna spray the skunk ape to make him smell better.
We have electric trikes and an electric bike, so we could have, powered access into the park. You could choose the 3-wheel or 2-wheel conveyance. They go like a total of 60 miles on a charge, so we could do some running around.
See, that would be fun.
I'm hoping to be able to put one of each in the back of my truck and then hook the camper up to that so I can start taking these with us when we go somewhere. The back has a basket, and we've already done it with Bo. If you hook his leash on there and just tie it a little short, but drive not too fast, he stays on there with no trouble. He enjoys the ride and gets to look around, and so that's
I'm sure he has a blast.
on the 3-wheeler. Yeah, it's amusing. I have a guy in the park. He's got a 3-wheeler that pedal, just manual, but big for an adult.
Yeah.
And then
Trike, they call
he's
them.
collected like 2 carts that he hooked up and put wheels on, etc., that he then can pull in a train. And then during the height of us snowbirds all being here and hanging out, he'd have a dog on the front basket, him pedaling, the dog behind in the back basket, a dog on the platform number 1, and then a dog on the platform number 2. And
It's a dog train.
And he had a dog train. He would walk around the park with that. So that was one of the highlights of the winter, was catching him doing that. He had made us all smile. So we live in this old people's mobile home park, 55 and older age group, and we actually have a pretty fun community. We have structured activities, but largely, you do your own thing, and it's affordable. So that's why we have a place in Florida. My mother and father did it, and basically we inherited what they had. So
I'm sure you have the most interesting stories out of anybody who lives where you're at right now. I would guarantee it.
well, I don't know. There's some people here that are so interesting. There's this one guy named Jim. Now, Jim, he'll tell you that he had some kind of a violent encounter and somebody hurt him badly. So he has a steel plate in his head, and it's so close to his left ear that it causes his ear to itch or buzz, or it's apparently the damage done was not just to his hearing, it was cognitive too. So he's kind of a special, simple, happy guy who talks in circles. Oh my gosh. But he's amusing. You can't help but love him. He's good-hearted and all. Well, I don't know how he did it, but he basically ruined his home, a mobile home. He somehow got it wet inside and grew mold. And his sister
That's not good.
is paying to have it totally stripped, and she's going to have it rebuilt. I don't know why you don't just put a whole new mobile in there, but
Yeah, that's too expensive. It's almost not even worth it once you get mold in the walls.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so he's staying in a motel, and I'm not sure what motel it is. It's just up the road on Seminole Boulevard. There's no motels I know of on Seminole Boulevard where I would want to stay. Like, what the hell are you staying in?
You would know.
I should try to visit him and shoot video. It could be sort of a secret Rick's Motel Dive episode, which that's one of my playlists. If you would like to see what have I ever done just on my own with dirty rooms, stuff I shot myself, it's under my playlist of Rick's Motel Dives.
So what do you got planned for the future? What do you got in the works? Like, let's say your health, you get your health
one
back.
thing in the near
That's your
future
number
is to
one, get your health back.
being able to walk again. And
Right.
that's going to also, I'm going to be reaching out to a fan who I've talked to him over the years. He's been a good fan. He's been through a lot, unfortunately, family-wise, and his own health. But he really would love to do a nasty motel check. So, as a way of thanking him, because he's also been very generous benefactor to us, I'm going to have him come down and meet with me, and we're going to, or Darlene as well, we're going to go into some terrible place where people actually sleep. And I don't know whether it'll be live or we'll just do it, just record whatever happens and then just try to edit something and see how people like it. I did one so far. When we were on our way down to Florida, I stopped at a place and decided to shoot some footage, and people seemed happy to at least see footage about the topic area. Although the place, it was a decent sleep. So, that was the ironic thing about it, that it really wasn't a dive. It was actually not bad at all. So I'll do those. And like I said, I'd love to be able to come back next season and take advantage of my contacts on the southeastern part of Florida and do some ghostly explores and see if I can't be lucky enough to have something happen while I'm filming. That's the key right there. You've got nothing except for footage of people sitting around and talking to each other and looking at each other and maybe an attractive setting.
Sometimes that's half the battle, though. Some just that right there in itself is entertaining.
It is to some people, but the people looking for some kind of satisfaction, usually they want something to make them jump. They want something to be sensationalized.
I got a great idea for you, Rick. You got to edit in
No.
fake stuff like the ghost hunters did. You got to edit in some fakery. Make it exciting.
Instead, my stuff tends to be less of that, less kind of exciting, dramatic. There's no drama play, it's stories going on. I don't have any budget either. So instead, it's just, hopefully it's enough that you follow along, and I do caption things. So, if you just at least watch along, you'll know when something supposedly is happening, because you'll see a title come up. And, it'll be something very straightforward for you to follow.
And actually at the same time that you've heard it or it overlaps with it. You know what I mean? Really, instead of it like being the entire time, I might just have the caption come towards the end of it and then hang out just for a couple more seconds. And so your brain has a chance to react to having heard it and then read the explanation of what I think it is. But one thing I will proudly say with my videos is, although you threw that joke out, mine are staunchly 100% legitimate, nothing filled. Now, I do have another playlist, Rick's Thrillers. And in that playlist, there is some stuff that is just having fun. It could be maybe something mixed in there. One video there is. It even surprised me it was there because I didn't intend there to be anything. And I just found something. I was like, wow. Otherwise, it was actually something that I did with Dan. And Dan created sounds for me. It was like magical. So as to create the illusion that something was happening. That was, the place was supposed to be a bridge where you would hear a baby cry. Cry Baby Bridge. It's the name of the episode. So, but in that episode, that's just for fun, and that's why when we did that, I said, well, I'm not going to try to fake this. This is, this is funny as shit, but I'm not going to fake it. I'm going to let people know it's just part of this list. Then, damn if I didn't, when I was going through and reviewing and cleaning up stuff, I found something in there. So I left it in there, and I think I'm not even sure if I titled it or not. I might not have titled it. I might have just left it there and see if anybody hears anything. But maybe they won't be able to trust, since the other is definitely told as being fakery. So it's hard. You don't want to mess up your legitimacy by confusing the audience. One person did give me some kind of a comment about that one time in this particular playlist, and I just tried to be, honest about what it was, and whatever. Still weren't happy.
So, to bring this all the way back around to where we first met, so when I was living in Philadelphia, there was somebody I knew. It was one of my band members, but he knew somebody that worked at the penitentiary, and that he was a security guard.
Gotcha.
And he said, he was like, it's all fake. He said, everything that you see, there was like something running towards and away. He said, it was all fake. So that was when I got like proof that it was, because, we've been
from
talking.
that person's perspective. But I inspected as,
now I've been there. Now I've
career.
heard something there before when I was there at Eastern State Penitentiary. I was there. I forget when it was, but there was 2 times I heard something weird. The first time I was there, and it was on Halloween.
Okay.
And me and my friend went. Well, not literally on Halloween, but they did like a Halloween thing where you could go walk around, and they had, one part was a haunted house, and another part you could just walk around. But we walked by this one cell, and we heard somebody whisper, but there was no. Stuck our head in there. There was nobody there. But then the second time, this is recent, 2018. My girlfriend at the time, we went on a spooky. We called it spooky weird road trip or whatever.
Uh-huh.
We went all over Pennsylvania, but the first stop we did was Eastern State Penitentiary, and we were in this one room, and we could. I don't know what the sound was. If it was a dripping. It was a dripping sound, but there was no leak anywhere. And I was like, I told her, I was like, there should be water landing right here. And I was pointing at the spot where we were hearing. I said, that's so crazy. Anyway, but there was no plumbing.
Now that was a pay to enter kind of a situation, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I've never been to that one.
It's pretty cool. If you ever make it down there, it's worth it.
I certainly
want
to. And there's one in Kentucky that I want to get to. I'm not sure if it's the same place or not. Eastern is not in Kentucky, is it?
Eastern State Penitentiary, that one's in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, okay.
Yeah,
down in there's
oh,
one.
I know which one. The one you're thinking of, is that not that infirmary? It's like an old infirmary, like a hospital. That might be. There's so many of them. That's the one I'm thinking of.
It's another
in
prison.
Kentucky.
That's
Oh,
all.
prison.
It's
Okay,
a prison.
Gotcha.
And I have a couple of fans that I've gotten to know that live not too far from there, so that would be a good place to go to have somebody that you could. If I didn't mind all the cats, I'll have to take some allergy pills. I do fine. So we might go there at some point. Hopefully, Darlene and I both would go visit there because we've gotten to know these two guys and they're fans / they're friends now.
Mm-hmm.
I have a small group of people, two from Australia, and these two guys that have entered my inner sanctum, through video chats on multiple occasions and just oversharing over last couple of years, almost like family. So I would love to meet them in the flesh. That would be pretty cool. And there's this place that's supposed to be pretty cool, but no matter where you go, there's no guarantee that Jack is going to happen because you're there.
Right.
You know, so that is the expectation you have to somehow temper. That you don't know if, so just be alert and keep your eyes open, but then don't let that ruin your experience completely, because the second part of the whole thing is then reviewing what you have captured with your different toys, if you've tried to do that. And it takes time to go over that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you time to sort of get to taste the whole experience again. And it's, it'd be nice if you had something you could share and create a video out of it, and then you go, voila, look at this, look what we experienced. But sometimes you get, like you said, you get there to the end and you find, we didn't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful place. So maybe you get some spooky music and you put together just a video of cuts in and out of showing the place, and I throw it on the thriller playlist.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's how.
that.
So that's my approach with the para. Is there's either stuff I get, or it can go over there as the sort of the optional way to go. So at least I have something content wise.
At least the footage still.
I haven't
used.
done that a lot, but that's what I could do, and I've done it a couple of times, but I could do it more. But going forward, it all depends on the body. But I only have myself to drive myself to do more or to sit back and do less, because it's totally for personal pleasure. That had stupid early dreams that I thought that while I was grabbing onto someone's cape, that maybe we were going to make some kind of big thing happen here. But that's not happening. And that doesn't happen most of the time in the real world. You're lucky here and there, but most of the time, look at you. You're a person who's been plugging and working hard and putting together content and etc. I'm thinking you're still not a millionaire yet. But that doesn't.
But I love doing it. That's the thing.
That's the whole thing. So
I would be doing this
truly,
if I, I am doing it without money.
Right.
I do it because I enjoy it. Like, if I didn't enjoy doing this, I wouldn't be doing this.
That's it. That's the point.
It's like playing music. I played music for years. Now, never made a ton of money. Got to travel the world, but I did that because I was having a blast. I was having a really good time, and I still do have a good time playing music. So
yeah, I had a few good moments. I got to play one time at. It was an event that was really a big thing for a while. It kind of was faded, and I think they're trying to bring it back. It's called Artscape. So I think they're going to do it now in the fall in September. It used to always be in July. So when it was still in that old format, friend and the person who was in the band with me at the time. We had a little band that was eventually called Pulling Strings. She played violin, flute, and she wrote some songs, and I wrote a few songs, and I collaborated with her in creating a couple of these other songs. And so the band collected together and had a little bit of a repertoire. With some of the gatherings of people I had in that, we had 2.5 sets. We would have to start to repeat if we had a gig that actually required us to do 3 sets. But we had that much, and it was original. That was what was impressive at the time. And we were kind of like light jazz rock or something with some simple melody and some lyrics hooked up to it. It wasn't any complex rhythm either, but at least something to hold it down. But it was never a heavy bass line or anything like that. It was just enough. Although we did get this one member, and he was like the guy who would play the little bass lines in Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he used to play those as a way to practice his fingers. He learned those little lines, and he would repeatedly do those. Kind of cool, but so he played a little bit heavy on us, but most of the time that wasn't an emphasis to the band, and he wasn't exactly a funk rhythm kind of guy either. So, although that would have been good, we would have loved that. Maybe even some ska or reggae.
Mm-hmm.
But so I got to enjoy. One time we got together this opportunity to play, and we didn't know exactly what the setting was going to be, but it was going to be in this artscape on Saturday, the second day of the whole thing. So we find out when we arrive with all of our equipment that instead of us just setting in the parking lot as the sideshow, this one main act dropped out who was going to be on the stage. You guys now got the stage instead. So we got to be on this nice stage, rubberized mat, and everything was so great. We're playing our little songs. We had 3 songs. It was like a 10-minute set altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that was interesting for the performance was 3 giant parade puppets that danced around with people controlling the 3 different puppets in front of us on stage. They were really the visual for the whole performance for the people. So we're in the middle of the second song, and all of a sudden, everything stops, except for the bassist and the drums. Somebody had walked and kicked and undid the power for us.
Oh, no.
So it took a minute or two, but someone plugged it back in. We had power back on, and we went back and started the song 2 again and did the 3rd song, and then, gracefully got off stage after the sad moment. But we had like 1,000 people that I was in front of doing that. That was like the biggest thrill I've ever had in terms of, holding a guitar, trying to make some pleasant noise with it, singing a little, and people watching. So
it's a lot of fun. Definitely.
That was a lot of fun. Long time ago.
Well, listen, Rick, we're over 2 hours. I want to really thank you for coming on.
I really appreciate you inviting me to do so, and
I wanted you to tell everybody, make sure you tell everybody your YouTube channel.
Okay.
Where can they find all of the stuff you're doing and your
Rick
live show?
Serra, Serra. That's it. YouTube at Rick Serra. And my website is rickserrastar.com. There you can see all my links to the social media platforms of your choice. And you can look at my merch, or you can just say hello. There's an email link too.
And are you still doing your live show or your live stream?
Every Friday. We just celebrated 5 years now. We're in year 6. Last week we broadcasted from the nearby Seminole Market Place. I think I said it right this time. A band that was playing Motown and beyond. So they played live, I broadcasted live, and then I also have a special thing I do once a month. Started with the negative times of the COVID and all.
Mm-hmm.
We started doing cleansing. So the cleansing we do every first Friday of the month after the first hour. And you can get your negative energy cleansed by Rick Serra.
That's good, because I thought you were going to say it was like a video of you taking a bath or something.
No,
So that actually sounds much better.
It's totally virtual, and there's no contact with any fluids, although there are fluids on our end. But you'd have to watch to find out what I was talking about. It's nothing nasty. You don't see any body parts or anything. I promise. I'm just trying to make it sound titillating so you might actually watch our show.
Everybody, make sure you check out Rick's YouTube and check out his live stream.
Cocktail Hour with Rick.
He's quite the character. And thank you for all you've given me lots of entertainment, even though we've been in contact all these years.
And you've
lots of
given me the
entertainment.
same.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again for coming on.
Maybe another time we can do something like this.
Absolutely. Come back on whenever you got some more, whatever you
get
run
some more
into.
juice.
Anything.
I'll get some more juice going and see what else I can talk about.
Yep.
If you have a couple hours, we'll see.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, everybody. We will see you on the next one.
Couch here for so long, just trying to get in my head. Now you're always talking about a new medication to help me sleep through the night. Alright, just another misdirected sublimation, baby. I never could get it right. Sometimes I still fantasize about the shot. Therapy. Are irreversible, damage and disease. I want a shot. No therapy. And voices in my head turn from whisper in a scream. My phone's been ringing forever. Yeah, but I know who's on the line. I got everybody looking for money, honey. I'll never pay them on time. No, well, these cats, they got me nervous. But I could use some, yeah. They talking about this government of no more purpose, while the suggestions obscene. If you know what I mean. I want a shot. Go. Therapy. I'll get that pattern pencil doctor. Give me what I need. I'm talking shot. Go. Therapy. And voices in my head. Gentle whispers in a scream. shot blots. Now right in my head, what have I got? What a shot! No, never pay. Signs are irreversible. Damage tendencies, I want a shot. No, therapy. I'll get that manifesto, baby. You know what I need? I'm talking shot. Gun therapy. Doctor, please, please, please. I want a shot. Gun therapy. I'll voice in my head, never whispers into scream.